I'm live. Hello. I'm configuring my new computer. So just let me check to see that everything's working first. Okay. Just 1 second. Let me close that. I'll close that down. Ooh, CPU don't like me very much. That's okay. We'll soldier on. We should be okay. Let me just get rid of the preview. All right, let's see how we go. Okay, 1 second. One second. Nearly there. Sorry, I don't have my original normal cards and stuff, and I need to turn the stuff on. And so we share a browser window through OBS when I was trying to bookmarked all of the stuff that I wanted to talk about, and it doesn't show in the browser window because I'm sort of rushing this stream and just, anyway, whatever. Let's move on. So let me just check that we're connected and stuff. YouTube hasn't gone. Okay, well, that's fucking great, isn't it? That's all right. We're just going to have to... Oh, good, isn't it? Okay, great. Anyway. Where are we? Twitter code. Here we go. Okay, we're in the right... Sorry about that. So, as you know, if you've been watching at all, I've been having some computer dramas. And so what I decided to do was take my old the old iMac and see if I could repurpose it into some sort of like dead machine. The sound is choppy. Okay, just give me 1 second. Be patient. Thanks, Janelle. Actually, just give me a second. I haven't. Okay, hang on 1 second. Let me just remove the. How about now? Is that better? Is the it just might mean that we just might need to sorry about this, guys. I'm doing this on the fly, so can you just let me know if that's better, and we'll just have to nobody move or make any noises until I can actually configure it. But also, like, bear with me as I correct the sound and stuff. Again, it's just a combination of things, being too busy with school, having surgery tomorrow. I need to obviously have my house and everything in order for tomorrow. All stuff happening and breaking, and things that I spent the last 5 years working towards being able to cover, and I can't cover it because of all the things that are going on. There may be some delays. Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, but I can figure this out on the fly. I don't want to have to do that. Let me turn maybe the limiter. Maybe it's, it might be overly compressed too. Okay. Fuck, I don't know what to do on the fly. Okay, so what is do that and hope the best. Just turn the cursor off completely, and I'll just have a limiter on, and if I peek out, hopefully I don't. I should be okay. Hang on a second. Let me turn me down a little. Okay, hopefully that should be slightly better. Audio, my head in. But that's another problem, right? Why people should become patrons, by the way. This is why you should support your patron, your favorite content creators. Because I normally just use earbuds to, like, for day-to-day sound stuff. Like, it's adequate. But in order to calibrate sound, I borrow my son's noise-cancelling headphones. However, because my son doesn't look after anything, he decided to reverse over with his chair his expensive, noise-cancelling headphones. So I can't use them to calibrate the sound without going and buying another set of headphones to be able to do it. So, and also I just haven't had the time and sound and changing OBS and all that stuff. But once I watch it back, I know exactly what I need to do. I just need time. I need to be able to do these things. Again, I do these things on my own, and I think people don't realize that you've got to know how to do audio shit. You got to know how to do all this video shit. You got to be able to do video production, edit, all those things. Okay, good. I was just chatting so that we could get a good sense of, okay, good. All right. Sorry for that delay. All right. I love black coffee. All right. Blech. I'm on liquid still. I'm on liquids for the next next couple of weeks. You get used to it, but it's just, it's not the sensory experience that one would be used to. So anyway, okay. So this Twitter algorithm business, I'm going to try to keep this under. I'm really trying to keep it under, it's me. I've just wasted how many fucking minutes talking shit about the sound and stuff. But anyway, but yeah, so anyway, little bit of housekeeping, just so people know. I'm sorry I haven't streamed for a while. I just have, in this lead up to surgery, when you have a business and you have an overloaded life like me, like obviously I have clients, I have business, I try to stream. I have, I've got kids, I've got a lot, and I've got study. I'm doing my Juris Doctor to be, do legal training. Most of the time my life is impossible to begin with. So for me to be able to take off like 2 weeks to be able to, recuperate from surgery. If you're a 9-to-5er, you get leave. I don't get leave. I have to condense all my work and everything just so I can have a fucking break. Like that's just more the nature of sort of employment, and living invoice to invoice and that sort of stuff. So I apologize to my patrons. Especially to my patrons, but I apologize. I haven't been on the ball as much as I would have liked, especially with everything that's happening. It's like fucking, it's just my luck that this would all happen like today when I've got all of this to do. So I just want to very quickly cover it, but with a promise that I will cover more of it in depth very soon. As soon as I feel up to it, I'll sort of, do more of this stuff. So as soon as I feel up to it and have the energy, and it may even be funny for me to be high on fucking painkillers while I do this, because I might be able to show how good I am, how fast my brain is, even on fucking painkillers. That's how good I am. I'm joking. So anyway, but yes, obviously, as soon as I can get rid of the other stuff that I need to do, like, having clients on the books and that sort of stuff with Patreon, that then becomes my job. That then becomes something that prioritize. Unfortunately, we're in this position where, I'm not making enough, to fully replace that. Now, I have had some very generous new patrons who have sort of, I've crossed the 1,000 a month path. It's only a couple of them doing it, so I would much prefer to, spread that and, so and obviously I've got courses and stuff, but, things like ChatGPT, it sort of throws you for a loop, because you go, are people even going to do courses anymore, or they don't ask ChatGPT things, So I'm just trying to sort of recalibrate a lot of different things and try to figure out what's going on. But I just want you to know that I really do want to do this. I like doing this. I like just talking and hanging out and all that sort of stuff. But, and I've also linked to a Telegram channel where people will be able to call in. I really do like that interactive aspect. Due Dissidents do this, and they just allow patrons to call in. I think that's a really great idea. I've always meant to do it. I just never implemented it, but I am prioritizing working on that. So, I can be more, able to just have that sort of, flow and unpredictability and, that kind of real community building stuff. Now, okay, sorry, with all that out of the way, I just needed to get all warmed up and all of that shit. Okay. Hopefully the computer holds out and I'm not too choppy and all of that. But again, you've gone through this with me before. Whenever things change, I have to just, do a stream, see how it goes, and then it'll just be corrected within the next couple of streams. So thank you. Hello, everybody. So hello, Christian. Hello, Tragic Slip. Hello, Janelle. Hello, Stream Elements bot. I've got to turn you off. I keep forgetting. Okay. So it's been really interesting because, obviously first of all, I'm not going to sort of assume knowledge. So there's a couple of things I think people need to understand, I guess, which is, first of all, what's going on, why it's important, but also how, how this release of this algorithm, it's not the release of the algorithm, it's a release of the source code, right? It's some insight, and people who know what they're doing can reverse engineer answers. So what you're going to start to see over the next few weeks is people starting to sort of dig a bit deeper, reverse engineer answers. There's not going to be anything particularly sinister just yet. Obviously, people are just sort of going where things lead them. Much like with the Twitter files where, the journalists, they sort of start looking in one area and then find something more interesting. Like that's going to be a process that sort of happens over the next few weeks, months, years, depending on how long it takes. But what I'm actually seeing right now is like, this is a very brave move. I'm curious. The only conclusion that I've got is that Twitter legal are confident that they're not exposing the organisation. I have a feeling that maybe change of ownership reduces their liability, but I'm looking into that too, right? I'm looking into these things and what legal recourse there is from users with some of these revelations, because if you've been watching my shit for any length of time, you know that a big part of it has been trying to explain and reverse engineer a lot of what's been going on, where people have been feeling like they're being gaslit and they're being abused. Like I know, like I've said this before, there have people that I know have sort of gone into like depression, and some even suicided over some of these, this isolation that's been going on through like Twitter. And a big part of what I was objecting to was the fact that a lot of this design and a lot of these decisions are extremely unethical. It's not even about legality per se, but it's been the fact that this is unethical. This is not an accident. Yes, there are some things where I can probably go through and explain the reasoning behind why it would work. I'll only use a few examples because otherwise, I'll be here all day and I've got like shit to do. But I'll come back to it at some point. But we're getting answers, okay? And as I've said a few times, it's not you, okay? So those of us so let's just sort of roll back a little bit to those who sort of started on the platform early on. The promise to users was that we could just, say what we're thinking, reach our audiences, chatter. I was talking to a friend. I was at a friend's house because we're lucky and if my life goes really well and smoothly all of the time. We had a whole day the other day with no power. So I went to a friend's house and, caught up. And she was actually a friend that I met on Twitter early on in I think 2010, 2011. Okay. We became fast friends and have been since. And I was sort of talking about this and she said, remember when Twitter was for the smart people, where we would just build these little communities of, niche communities. So, in the early days, obviously I'm in Perth, Western Australia, so it was very, we had our small local, Twitter crews, but you had sort of subgroups within that. You had influencers that were maybe not influential on the world stage or celebrities or anything like that. But, I was, top of, if you remember, they tried to have this thing, they had the sort of the lead influence. They were at the top of that ladder for the city, right? And this idea, and that was, I always thought it was dumb, but, it was and meaningless, but it was it spoke to a promise. What it did, and I think people forget what the initial value offer for users who use that platform in good faith was, which was that you could just find your crew. It was your water cooler. You could hang out. You may build influence, I would influence completely accidentally just by being me. And the way that I did that was by saying silly things, using the C word, saying fucking fuck, talking shit about everything, being a cross-disciplinary smart person. And that comes back to the algorithm because, I have straddled, even though lefty, whatever the fuck that means, it's meaningless. Okay. If you're a serious political commentator, left versus right doesn't actually mean anything other than Coke versus Sprite. It's all sugar water. It's all bad for you. Okay. But, I've got friends in every political party. When when you're especially in a town like Perth, you straddle networks. Okay, you go, okay, well, business, because I ran a business and I was in marketing particularly, and I had clients across all sorts of industries. I would gather networks that were, somewhat organically. So I would have, I've got, other agencies. I have, transport, mining. I also straddled the political world, but I also, because I was in student politics and went to student politics conferences, I've got friendships where, people have now since become members of parliament, and it's not something I pursued, but, they're friends. Some went with the Greens and some went with ALP and some were in the Liberals, and we're all just policy boffins. I went to university. I went to, I studied different things. So I went, social sciences and media, and, you just over a lifetime, you gather networks of different groups, and, you sort of navigate those things. And it was only really with social media and Twitter gave a promise that we would be able to cross-pollinate with those things, and we could connect, we could hang out, and, it was, around your location and all that stuff. That was the promise, and that was the value proposition of Twitter. And I think people forget. My voice just got very female and screechy. Sorry, fellas. But that was the value proposition, and I think people keep forgetting that was the offer on the table that drove Twitter. Okay, now it might not have been the American idea. Obviously, Twitter exploded with South by Southwest in tech. It was very niche. Okay, so there are different people saw different value. I'm not saying that my was the same as, say, tech company, dickheads that were going to conferences and Burning Man, all those stupid fucking wanker fests, right? I'm not saying that's... At some point, they decided that platform was theirs, that platform was for celebrities, that platform was for media and corporate media. The big promise of Twitter, and I remember this because I was in an article in the local paper about this new thing called Twitter. You are number one on the fucking ladder. Okay. Whatever the fuck that means. Whatever. Do. But, for lols, I'll go in the paper, right? And they would, there was a thing where I remember being at the Media 140 conference, and I have been at all of these things where you saw journalists in the back of the room slowly moving to the front of the room over time and taking over the events, because you had tech people talking about things like citizen journalism, democratization, the broader open source movement, which comes back to the algorithm, the broader open source movement around software, which was that, share and share alike. The internet should be free. It is democratizing. Everybody should have access. People should be able to have visibility. You can express yourself, and so long as you don't break the law, you can, you can be free. I built my whole fucking career, and honestly kept my sanity because of this fucking promise, because I was stuck where, my options are limited professionally, because, my options were to become, a bureaucrat, okay, or maybe a lawyer, or marketing. I mean, I've made my money selling shit, the lowest level marketing, SEO bullshit, because that's the only way I can make money in this town outside of, this amazing thing called the internet. But if I hadn't done that, I'd be working in social policy, or I would have, probably not been academic, because I think that's whatever. But, those were my options. And the internet was supposed to enable people like me, and it did. In the early days, it actually did. 80% in 2007, 80% of my business was out of the United States. Okay, I was able to run a business with US customers, freelancing, doing websites for various, rock stars, famous people, photographers, all those sorts of people from little old Perth where I had babies. I was stuck. I had no options, and I could fucking work around the clock and work on alternative hours and make a buck with my little community. Okay, that's always been the value proposition, and Twitter was part of that. Okay, now Twitter was about micro influencers. Okay. Now, I got a number, again, it's documented that I got a number of sort of celebrities over the years on Twitter. Okay, very earlier than the mainstream. Now, one of the chapters that I've been working on in the book that's never going to get published, which is going to start being released as articles on my blog because I'm just never going to get the book done. I've just had to accept it. It's just not going to happen. Unless someone comes with a big check for me to write the book, it's just not going to happen. But like I there was a turning point, and the chapter is actually called "How Fake Can Break the Internet." And what happened was that all of the people like me who were online in good faith and nerdy and built these fucking platforms, we committed this open source code, we wrote the code, we wrote the content, we evangelized the tech, hook, line, and fucking sinker. I'll try not to yell too much because the fucking things. And then the fucking people that we were all trying to avoid, they came and they colonized / crashed our space and started telling us what the fucking rules were. And this is interesting because it's funny to see these little rewrites of history. There was a guy yesterday who's like, I used to run Twitter media, and we realized that celebrities are this platform. No, users are the platform. Okay, and it's like, well, yes, I understand that the value proposition of Twitter was not the celebrity. Okay, the value proposition was the fans. Okay, celebrities, like this is where people have it backward. Okay, people are only famous because people make them that way. People are only famous because people buy their stuff. People are only celebrities because people consume their shit. And anybody who says that it is them that do it are a fucking narcissist and a cunt, because every celebrity has a team of 10 people around them. Every fucking YouTuber that's like even half better than me has more than me, has 8 people around them at least, or they use exploited offshore labor, or they use free shit, or they use interns, which I won't do. Okay. Now, so the Twitter algorithm is something that's in a black box. Okay, hasn't had any transparency to it. Now, so obviously Elon Musk promised that he would release the code. Now, what does that mean? So there's this platform called GitHub. So when you're creating applications, obviously you've got multiple people working on code. It's a way for teams of people to work on the same code base without overriding stuff. So if you're not in tech, you'll understand, and maybe you'd use Google Drive or Word or something like that, where you know how you can work in real time. But in the old days, you'd actually, it's kind of like how track changes works in Word. I'm trying to simplify it, but that it's roughly just version control, right? So you can, have multiple people working on the same code at the same time, and if 2 people happen to be working on the same thing, they can commit, and then in an ideal world, the project manager would review that, and testers and all those people would review that, commit, and then moves into the master code, and that's how releases happen. Okay, I hope I've explained that. Probably not, but let's just I think it's very important not to assume that people know what open sourcing up the code means. Okay, before that, what you would have is closed source. Okay, so at the moment, GitHub allows you to see it and participate in it. Now, it can be private, so that can be just within Twitter. That could actually just be within a team within Twitter. Okay, so the media team might not be able to see the engineering code or the algorithm. The comms team might not be able to have access to that code. Okay, now understand there's a lot of people have access that should have access over years to. There's this thing called God mode with Twitter, which is again a whole separate thing, but it all comes together into a plug where there needs to be some sort of, I think, maybe even, again, I don't know what the end game is for Musk other than transparency. I have to assume that corporate lawyers know that they're not going to lose. I don't know what the legal strategy around this is. But I was talking to ChatGPT the other day. I was brainstorming this idea of suing Twitter. And ultimately, ChatGPT-4 agreed that I had a very compelling legal argument. So I gave it sort of my position on things. So, but it fought me initially. So I'm wondering. Anyway, it's a whole other cycle. But so what they did when they opened up that code is what they've done is they've opened it up to everyone. So everyone can go in and look at the code of Twitter. Now, I think it's very important to note that even if you sort of open source the code base, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have access to every part of it. Okay, you don't have visibility. Okay, so there's parts that you won't have visibility, such as, because obviously GitHub will show the code. So you've got the code base, which shows the logic. So what we say, if this and this, if this then this, if this then this, over and over and over and over and over again. That's just a complicated way of doing if else. Okay, it won't show the database, and also won't necessarily show any scripts that are outside of that authorized code base. I think that that's really important because a lot of the fuckery that I've been seeing has been around some of the short scripts that I've seen, some of the, obviously people access inside Twitter to make accounts, and also the way code works is that you could actually be internal and using the API in ways that are not necessarily linked to the full code base. But what opening up that algorithm does is that it at least gets more. One principle of open source is that 1,000 eyes on something is better than 10. Okay, that like some people think that and this has been a battle that's been going on for decades. Of this stream, and I can explain it some other time. But the difference between open source and closed source. Open source, proprietary / closed source software means that it's only seen by like at one dev team or like the dev team and authorized people. Okay, so like classically Microsoft. Okay, so Microsoft, that used, it's fairly closed source, right? Software. Then I'm just trying to think of the old. What was an old closed CRM? I'm trying to think of a. Okay, so anyway, there's too many examples, but so let's say like you've got so like what do you call it, Kentico, or some of those Microsoft content management systems, versus something like WordPress, where WordPress has an open code base that anyone can look at, anyone can access, and that is on the GPL 2.0 license. Now, GPL hasn't been tested as a period record either, but that's a side point. Fucking hell. Anyway, so opening that up, what Twitter has done is said, okay, well, we're not going to tell you how our stuff is written. Okay, so code, okay, people who have built apps can reverse engineer it based on what, so you roughly know how to do stuff. So that's why I've been able to sort of reverse engineer some of the code without seeing the code, because you go, okay, well, it's doing this, so that means there's likely this variable and this thing. You don't necessarily need to see the code, but it helps to provide evidence that you're not fucking crazy. I haven't explained very well. I feel like I'm rushing, but we'll get through it. So basically, what happened is that the Twitter code base has been released to GitHub, which is the one of several, but the main open source repository. Okay, for where you can see and access code, all that sort of stuff. You can report issues. You can even contribute to that code base if again, it's the same thing. But moving on. So what the Twitter algorithm release has shown, I don't like saying Twitter algorithm because I hate that word. That word is becoming meaningless because it means so many different things. It's the Twitter code base. Logic for different things. I'm not going to go into dry detail, but I will just show you sort of some of the at the moment. I did have a quick look at it. I poked through a little bit. Unfortunately, it is Scala, which is it's a version of Java, but and obviously it's pretty easy to understand. Like I just need to go through and have a look and just. I thought it was JavaScript at first. It's actually it's a new version of like Java. Anyway, but yeah, I haven't had time to give it the time and attention that it needs. So I'm relying on third-party people who are on it at the moment, just purely because I can't be on this right now. I've got to go and write. I've got to go and submit my assignments and in my house and pack my hospital bags and all that sort of stuff. Like, but today. So, but I'll do as I can, and I'll do a review. I'm trying to do as well because obviously, he does shit too. So let me just share that. This is just my bookmarks from Twitter. I'm just going to go through them, right? Hang on, let me just. By the way, I've just every. Okay, so I just that like I think a few weeks ago I thought let's look at my account. Now this is not normal. There's a reason why I'll show you this, which was that I am actually not anywhere. I can cross-pollinate networks with, over the years, like I crossed networks. I wrote that thing about, wrong thinkers shouting into the void as sort of an influencer who can sort of, cross networks. And I know that, I know that I'm I travel. I'm a Pied Piper. It's just what I do, right? And this is why I noticed it was just so noticeable that I was just shouting into the void. And it was also that it was the same people back and forth. Not that I don't love them very much, but it was the same people back and forth over and over again that interact with me. And other people my stuff. And it's always weird. Also my account, I think the padlock video that I did, when I was trying to explain how the mass reporting and all of those things, where it showed high engagement, but, because hitting report or these sorts of things actually count as an engagement, but it wasn't showing up in any other numbers. That was, there's just all these things that, culminate in a number of different things, right? If I could find the money and time to sit down and actually write this out as a paper with my own account as an example, it would be very useful, but I just don't see how I'm going to be able to, it's just, Anyway, so, but remember I posted, this is a normal person. This is your person who isn't, so, you sit here in the or here, whatever. These mainstream media, okay, or a viral thing, okay. But this is usually how a person's networks look. So they kind of cross and they kind of spread out to these various clusters. See how they've got these little clusters. Then you've got clusters over here. You see how it kind of, it looks really cool space, right? But mine looks like this. I often joke that George Clooney and Gravity, just so fucking, which is highly unusual. So the average looks like this, and that's like in the middle, and I don't go anywhere. Right now, there's also no other shadow. One thing I've noticed that some people do. So I see over here, most use, if it's bully or organise, usually they'll use screenshots under private and locked accounts so that you don't show up in the. See, the people who know how to, they know most of these things, but what interests me is that some of the are things that would require you to have inside knowledge of, because some of them really did surprise me. Okay. Go down first. This one was good. Here's a thread of learnings. So you get rugged for speaking in different languages as expected. Okay, so really bad, right? So this is really weird. So you English, language is not. Okay, so that's really interesting because that's again they're commenting the code. So if your thing is set to English, okay, but you are tweeting in a different language, you're going to get punished. So let's just say you're living in America, but you also are tweeting in Dutch or French or whatever. You're going to get penalised. Okay. Or for example, you live in Australia and you're speaking in Aboriginal languages, like fucking, in different slang or whatever. Like it's again, you can see how some of these things would be problematic. Again, this is we don't have ability on what specific learnings they've got because they may have like those sorts of slang words sort of because it's also learning. You may find that over time those words become more sticky. But in a country like Australia where you've got hundreds of Indigenous different cultures and customs and language and all those sorts of things and constantly moving all those things, right? You can see that actually probably a bit fucking racist. So use a language differs from language and neither is English. 0. Isn't that fun? So if you're Chinese and you're tweeting in French, but your UI is set to England, or fucking default, according to these companies, instantly fucked. Now, again, I understand the other reasoning, right? I understand that because this is a risk calculation, okay? It's no one thing. And also that, a lot of the troll farms, a lot of the bot farms and all those things are usually based over there. But you can see how these US-based, polite, English-speaking fuckheads get amplified over good faith, multilingual, right? To tweet, right? You get a 30x your score. Oh my God, China's gonna have a social score. Likes the king, so 30 times your score because bots always reply one time. This way, so let's have a look. If you were on Twitter early, went viral for was joking about bots. The paper ran the story, and I kind of went, that I was one of the very early people to go, aha, with that model. So I understand why that exists, but I won't go too much. Recount parameters, right? So see how it shows that. So it gives a weighting. So see how that weight there? Let's have a basic thing. Is obviously some sort of multiplier behind it. And there's a times 20, right? Where are we? Let's just move through. Boring. Okay. Here we go. So here's, sorry, my screen is actually like reflecting my light right there. However, this is really interesting. So offensive boost. So it's 0.1, so it multiplies. So when you look at these numbers here, so that's a whole number, obviously, so it's a 20 times. 1 is neutral. Multiplied by 0.2 is obviously reduces the stickiness, or sorry, the traction of that, the virality of that tweet. Okay. The texts, so how you write, the style you write in. URL, if there's a URL, so what kind of URL it is if it's a reply, neutral. Favorites, so that was likes. That's the Lang English UI boost. So it's multiplied by half, and you see how unknown boost. That's like really fucking. That's racist as shit. Okay? If you're multilingual, like you've been fucked. And I can see why Australians also fit into that, because we have our own little vernacular, little words and phrases. Now again, I'm not sure, because Twitter Australia is invisible as far as I can tell. I don't know what work they're doing, but I don't know what's sort of what cultural sensitivities. Like, we don't have visibility around what specific words are and are not recognised. I mean, are they referencing the dictionary? Are they referencing Urban Dictionary? Are they referencing, what's their base point for these things? Now, I assume it's pretty sophisticated, and I also assume that it's like machine learning, that it's not as sinister as it sounds, but on the face of it, it's pretty fucking sinister. So if they've got multiple hashtags, it's like, less likely. It's in your direct followers. You haven't read that one yet. If it's a self-tweet boost, I think that's is that retweeting yourself? I don't know. I'm not sure. So there's all these things. Anyway, you get a 2 multiplier for a video URL. You get a 2.0 URL. Yeah. So it's so opportunity to kind of see how code as well, right? So it's actually a good example of code. It's easy to understand. The variables are named, clearly, so you can kind of understand. It seems to be pretty well connected. So that's more dog shit than it was. That you get a 2 times multiplier on images. But that bit of code, if it has enough engagement, bam. So by default, this is the thing that pisses me off, which is that I've had a blog for 20 years. Okay? Not media. I'm just me with my blog. It has been linked on my profile since the beginning, since you could have a fucking link on your profile. Okay, the URL changed, but there's 301 redirects to it. Okay, by sharing links to my blog. And that includes using the fucking Jack feature on WordPress, which will use the API to post, to that URL. If that is not CNN, BBC, and all the approved fucking links, you get penalised. Okay? That's bullshit. Also, because I actually did do Twitter Flight School. I've done all of that certification because I was running an agency. Go and get all of those things done, and they've not once mentioned this. I actually think there is antitrust, something there around the fact that they have. Again, I don't know what whether there's an additional sort of multiplier if it's a boosted post, but this seems misleading, because every single social media consultant would be surprised to hear that sharing a link for more information from their tweet to their blog or to their website or to a landing page is, you get penalised. Like that is actually a big shock, I think, to most marketers. That is not something that has been discussed. There is some recourse there, especially if you've given Twitter money or been a Twitter partner, because you've gone around, you've given clients incorrect advice. Okay, so that there's an angle there. Not the legality of these things necessarily, it's more the logistics and strategy of how the case. So a lot of the problems with suing someone like Twitter or suing these businesses is technicalities, jurisdiction, loopholes around the law, having to go through to compulsory arbitration in California, all those sorts of things. You'd be bankrupt for trying, and that's part of the problem, right? You need money backing to do this sort of stuff. So anyway, so you can. So we won't go too much into here, right? But just not making as a lot of people have been, you get recommendations. So what they're trying to do is actually sort of break that away with the For You tab. It being only Twitter Blue, I'm not convinced that that's the. That said, I think it's a good call if it was $1, or you had the, do it with like, okay. I think, but I'm expecting approach at some point. But look at too far out. You can be in multiple, affect your engagement, especially if you talk crypto to Katy Perry's audience, which is funny. Okay. I understand that. Okay, because as a lot of us know, is that some of the most violent people on the platform, you can hide asterisk people. You can hide behind asterisk. You can hide behind sort of deliberate misspellings. You can hide behind various sort of euphemisms and those. They hide behind euphemisms. Again, I sit there and I go, this has to come from people who understand the inner workings of Twitter at a deeper level, because most people would not do this unless they had somehow A/B tested this and gotten banned for using certain. I can't see how certain bad actors on the platform would be engaging in these sorts of word games, okay, unless they knew that they wouldn't get penalised for it, like such as words like turf, right? Or they could use little code words. Okay, so you see how it all sort of works. Like for me, I didn't made up words. This idea of made up words is different, right? But what an odd thing. So for someone who engages in wordplay or, those sorts of things, or typos, I'm a queen of typos. People who it's because, obviously you've also got crypto and all of those sorts of things who use, random chains and, gobbledygook. So you see how there's it's like a 50-50 split, right? I'm not actually also can't see the chats right now. So if you're chatting, I'll talk to you later. Thinking about out of network penalty. Penalty for replying out of your network. And someone like me who talks to fucking everyone, does anything wrong, look what happens. Dead in the water. For 80 days, if you get mad now, as I've like bought place. But at that point, 2,000 followers just fucking. Now, I have small quantities just to test. Well, like dealt with just buy 20 or 30. Suddenly, 2,000 people on my account just froze. But what I noticed now, I don't really care. But what I did notice was my followers would just drop, go 20, drop 20, go 20, drop 20, go 20, and just keep doing that, like up and down and up and down, like all day, just follow up, down, up, down. Now, what I thought it was these bannings. Okay, so because I follow fucking turfs and all that shit. Like, people get banned all the time, right? I just thought that it was just people being suspended and unsuspended, but now I'm that big part of how the how I ended up being fucking George Clooney in Gravity, right? Which was that those followers were sitting there to unfollow, follow, mute, you know, all of that stuff, right? So when you've got muting, blocking, and block lists, you know, you see how this all accumulates. But what you could do, like hypothetically, I've just realized you could just buy followers, or actually not even buy followers, just set up a bot. See, what I would do if I would set up a bot army, okay, of about, let's say, you've got to make it an undetectable amount and a manageable amount. So let's just make it like 100. Okay, on a small account like mine, if you just put 100 accounts on sleeper accounts on my thing, and they would follow and unfollow and follow and unfollow and follow, and I actually noticed this because I used an app called Social Dog. Accounts that were following and unfollowing and following and unfollowing and unfollowing, and I just thought that Twitter was being fucking stupid, or the other thing was that account was being banned, which was the most likely scenario. But this is really revealing, right? Yeah, I'm sorry if the jagginess and pops and clicks, Matt, the sound's fucked, computers, and I'm using the old iMac. I don't know about it. I'm just recording it as well, so there's nothing I could do. Okay. The limit stuff off because my son broke his headphones. You know, all of these things like a fortune, and there's nothing I can do about it. So we've been using good shadow. Just let me, if it's running too loud. I'm keeping an eye on it, but I do have a limiter on there, so it should be okay. Clicks and pops. You don't have to live for now. So we believe that's ban someone. So book of code and yeah. So that right. Okay. Text or that. So based on factors such as offensiveness, always, like I think I've said before, the swearing part, but that was a strategic calculation that I made based on the fact that the was going on. Again, like I've said before, you make as transparent, like you make calculations. And I'm just going to swear. Okay, well, I know I'm going to get reduced or deboosted for that. That's cool. That's a creative decision on my part. Fair cop. But I expect that shit, you know, you can kind of see how these things sort of accumulate into me fucking George Clooney and fucking. Anyway, sugar daddies, buy me new gear. Right. So, you know, I wish I don't have the fucking to be able to straight writing the papers. You know, I'm going to go back to so here's this position. So here I have a, and that's why the padlocking goes well as well in this is because I didn't realize that there was a strategy there where they could actually sit there and follow, but also mute, unmute. You see how it's going to fuck you up with based on some of these things, right? It's really fascinating. So I'll reduce it down to 30 frames a second and 720p and reduce the quality down to fuck all. Also, I'm screen sharing, so, you know, I don't know what to tell you. So these blacklisted topics are unknown and live in a database, obviously. So if your tweet or username references these blacklisted topics, your profile and content get deranked. So that stands to reason. That's something we that's the or there. Okay. Sorry. So we know what else we've got. Oh, here we go. Your entire account gets a boost. Okay. There you go. Following matters, and that's also, I mean, anyone who's sort of encountered a dumbass little fucking bot where they, follow 7,000 people and have 20 followers. That's obviously, that's a reasonable thing. But also that has the impact of penalising sort of old school tweeters as well, because again, this is one of those things where the rules changed, and because it was customary for the first 5 years of Twitter to follow back. It was actually considered rude not to. I mean, that's the reason why Barack Obama follows everybody, is because it was customary to auto follow back. You also had like software and scripts that would just auto follow people who followed you. Okay. Like that this is why it's like, well, there was no communication about this. And this is, it's like, okay, well, you lied. You omitted. This is deception by omission, which is that these people moved in, they changed the rules, they decide, and it was the rule, initially considered conventional and polite to follow people back if they followed you, and now you're fucking punished for it. And it's like, it's bullshit. So I'm just here to just remind you of the mess you left when you went away. But to remind people that this is whatever that media fuckhead said about how, what was his name? Like, oh, fuck that guy. Well, this is how Twitter works. It's like, no, that's not what it is. It might have been what you put in in 2018 or whatever the fuck, but that was not the promise, and that was not the rules. And I'm not going to let them forget it. Okay. So what's this one? Reduced page rank of users with low followers but high followers. Which again, some of them are sticky, which I'm happy to go, yeah, okay, I understand that. But it should have been communicated that this was a thing. Okay. To follow at a following ratio matters in the algorithm, and that, sorry guys, the rule that, information and correcting information, what you think is true, which is the correct and conventional polite thing to follow people back, is now going to fuck you. We think you should know, right? You see how it's like, yeah. URL only, name only. Okay. Where's there's no text and just an image, demoted, because again, some of these things are obvious because some people just post bolting shit without text. If you've looked at Elon Musk's mentions, you just see people with fucking constant gifts, and like yeah, I can understand why that would be the case. It's not necessarily but it should actually be using non-media. I'm really fucking mad. Has image flag, has video flag, has that we look at. Okay. Your account. Let me see in there. Let me just make this window. All right. So if user ID, user. Okay, that's it. That doesn't matter. If it's 0, if they're 100, that makes sense. Normalize age if aged over 30. What the fuck? Normalize the fucking age of the yeah, okay. So, at 1.0 else score is that multiple age. Sorry, just sort of trying to ask what it is. That just creates a way to count age, and what else you got? Friends to follower ratio, so is that adjusted stuff. So you're refreshing your friends. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So anyway, I wish I'd be able to look at it myself. I think that's it. So this is where it comes. You don't necessarily. In my case, I've been just, into certain groups. Okay, now that could happen algorithmically, but something that somebody who's a bad actor could just put you in a certain group. Okay, I said this does link with other things, like the fact that Twitter had access to God mode means that you have access to all of this stuff. You can manually and there's no of that. Okay, so like you in these groups, even if again, there's lots of different ways that this could happen, but you find yourself there. You then are talking to people who are also in that group. You are then cumulatively punished for interacting with those people. It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And then you've got in the background, you being mass reported. You've got these fucking bot followers that are just like, unlike, mute, unmute, hide. You see how it's just, and that's why my account's just frozen for 3 years. I don't get any engagement. And then you get these fucking troll farms. They don't touch, because the troll farms realized they couldn't fucking touch me. So they just, tried different ways to sort of suppress my account. And I end up here. And I'm also just acting in good faith because I'm just making friends wherever. It's because I'm not tribal, and I go, your politics is like whatever, or whatever interest in lots of different things, and I follow a wide range of people. Also, I have an older account where it was convention to follow people back. And also, and it's just like, okay, so this is just so much fuckery, and it's all of this would fly if you could contact Twitter and have it fixed, and you can't. I think there's ground for effective conduct. There's definitely some privacy mechanism here where you can, there's angles here. It's just not okay. That's what I've said to Twitter a few times. It's like, look at my account, reverse engineer my account. You'll see that these things are fucking like there's anomalies, and this is exactly what I was talking about. Interacting with low quality accounts, but we don't know what low quality accounts are, because a lot of this stuff is also arbitrary, and a lot of it is because they're deemed a low quality account based on the fact that you are, interacting with them or memeing or, whatever. Like, I picked up a bunch of Kiwi farmers and stuff. And they're anonymous and various stuff. Are they low quality accounts? I'm just having a fucking fun. Not up to me. Like, it's bullshit. It's really unfair, and it's unethical, and I think that it hasn't fucked with me too much. It's pissed me off and made me angry on behalf of others, but I know that there are people who have hurt themselves over this shit. Like, this is not okay, which we know. I don't know if they whatever. I'll watch it back, fix the sound. I have to buy new headphones now so I can test the fucking sound, and hopefully I have to tweak this so that it's dog shit fucking old output. videos on it in desperation, hoping that it will fucking fix things. Works as a streaming PC without my other process and everything running in the background. So he is hoping. But, you know, what am I going to do? So anyway, I hope so this is where I'm at with it, which is that I need to go. I've actually done my own fork. I forked the code as is, because I made a point of forking it before it sort of went crazy. And I've sort of going through. Yeah, thanks for the tech support, Matt. I know. I know what it is. I need new shit. So the problem. This is a 2011 iMac. I can't fucking do video on it. Anyway, gotta go. Fucking don't wind me up. Can't do it. Okay. Because of this, maybe I should sue Twitter for the last 3 years of fucking income that I've lost. How about that? Jesus Christ. Because this is happening with Facebook and LinkedIn and everyone else. And I imagine across fucking accounts as well, which means I'm on every fucking list and I've lost money and I want to sue the fuck out of all of them for my lost income. Because I'm a marketer and I haven't been able to get any reach and I haven't made any money in 3 years. That wasn't already happening from, aside from the few patrons, obviously. I should have grown. I froze. It just went dead. Like it's just fucking. Like, there needs to be some recourse. I don't know how I'm sorry as a stuff. With people who fucking, but not people who hurt themselves over this stuff, people who acted in good faith, people who paid money on a promise that they did not wrong and overtly fucking lied about. But I want to know who the fuck we can sue and where our place is. I want to know who I asked for the fucking $100,000 that they owe me for the fucking opportunity. You're probably more than that, right? No, again, we can't prove it. I can prove that what my trajectory was with these things before this happened, and probably calculated, probably be a few $100,000 minimum that they have cost me. Okay, fix it. But I don't know what is. What apology phrase? Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. But how do we get the 5 years of lost income and reputation and all of these things back? It's all right when people, but there's a whole bunch of people who have lost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars as a result of incompetence / negligence / fucking overt abuse of their users. And obviously the current CEO is not liable, but the should be. No, they haven't. So the algorithms, they worked it, yes, but it was mostly spam bots. So some of the things that you'll see with the URL, sorts of things, sort of legacy. Sorry, so do you reckon the algorithms have always been like this in some form? Yes, but that's because it was spam bots. And, I can see where these came from, but also know what it's not 12 in the fact that spam domains have evolved, so like if you've got a record, if you're hosted on Cloudflare and you've got a validated domain, spam boxes all good, all that stuff. So over the last decade, you know what a scam phishing domain is. The browsers can tell you if it doesn't have an SSL certificate, if it doesn't have all those things. Now again, let's be charitable. This is just, we don't have the logic behind what criteria for the domains are. Okay, it may well be, have all this criteria around SSL, domain, SPF, you go through. If you have, if you've had to try to get email and fix your email going. But even what's really weird, because even my emails, SPF, all those things, I keep being flagged as spam. I don't spam. I don't do anything wrong. And I actually know how to fix it. I've got that fucking annoying DMARC fucking shit. I've got it all. I honestly think that if you look at it, you will see there's actually fucking people that are just manually fucking, like with certain people that they just, again, you've just made yourself target. I mean, fuck. I don't know if you saw that, like, this is where you get into crazy town, but you know, the emails situation where they could literally make it so that emails weren't being delivered between him and Russians, because he wanted to try and work and interview Putin, right? Some of that stuff, again, haven't verified that, but you know, like this stuff, like, again, it's like, who the fuck did I piss off? Like, am I in big fucking trouble? Is it just a or is it actually like, you know, sometimes I go, well, I haven't done anything, but not for anyone to do anything. But it's like, what the fuck's happening? It's really, really weird. But the algorithm probably, the original struggle was just to keep running for 5 minutes. Exactly. So it's running, you know, all that stuff. So I wouldn't say there are some of these things that were necessary, and I'm relying on very limited information. It's going to take me like a month to go through that code minimum. Like, Elon Musk was on Twitter for 3 months. He had auditors at it, and it's taken them, like, you know, how long? Like, we've got to do a full code. We're not even getting full of the picture. It really is just, you know, fucking just not getting along with vapid, stupid, unthinking propaganda bullshit and just saying no to everything. Which is, I say no, I just say, I piss off everybody. Not on purpose, just by being not nudgeable, really. I think what it is I just nudged and I'm influential. And I have joked that it is actually a backwards compliment in a way, because I said I was influential and I was someone who was a pioneer. I know that the second I was doing YouTube, even though I wasn't that great, I had very quick growth. I was getting patrons quickly. Everything cut off, they cut me off. Who did that? I don't know. Just a combination of so many fucking things, and it can be crazy making. And I just want to know. That's why I think for me the best bet is an FOI, a privacy request. But again, I need to be able to spend the time at the submission so that, you know, it actually gets like the attention. But I will try to use my offline networks. God forbid that I work with somebody and straddles other than a schizo poster about fucking one issue. But I will use my offline networks to try and see if I can get on with the various ministers and all, you know, because obviously we're Labor governments and I don't know all the people. So I'm going to try and get the ear of some people on this one, because you know, I warrants attention, and this is why I will just say, well, you know, you can not like Elon Musk all your fucking life. Okay, that's the right thing with this stuff. I want to know. I mean, it's nothing. Again, it's nothing. I said this before. It's kind of more like, it's like a gut, because, you know, you can imagine that it's happening, and you know what's happening. If you're relatively smart and you know how these things are coded and what code needs to be written to do X, Y, Z on, you know, I can order a website just by looking at it. I know decisions that have been made. I know how they're made. I can know exactly what the fuck. I can go, that's that. Okay, I understand the reasoning and the politics behind design. I understand all projects over the years to be able to go, yeah, okay, I understand going on there and why that might be the case. But to actually see it is still hurtful and like a kick in the guts, especially when you're somebody who kind of loves tech. You know, it is a little heartbreaking, you know, to think that this was taken over so unethically and so badly, and like you know, I don't take it personally that I've been sidelined by tech. I mean, you can see how someone would have been filtered out of these companies. Imagine I still will be, because I'd still go to Twitter. If I was hired by Twitter, I would tell them that, you know, it's ethical, it's not okay. Just because it's your side doesn't make it okay. You know, all of these, I would still push back when Musk is making a stupid decision. Or, you know, like I have said before the decision. Again, because I'm a UX person, I'm able to go, well, yeah, it's what I would do with mine, and I have a terrible idea, is I go, yeah, okay, and then we'll measure it. And we'll see who's right. Like that's the best approach, both from a stakeholder point of view, because you know, you keep the all right, let's do it, let's measure it, and then when they're wrong, you revert it. And, well, I told you. Like I've got a couple of clients, you know, who one particular who does that, terrible ideas, and then I implement it. And then she goes, I don't like that. And I said, I told you it would look like shit. Okay, and then I send her the bill for the extra time. That's just a valid way to manage it, and that's what I would do at Twitter. But sometimes also uses things, you know, things can surprise you. Like this can actually, you know, work. That's part of being, you know, sometimes may surprise you. Like you make a call, fundamental part of lean UX. Make a sort of somewhat educated a calculation, implement it, and then test it, and you go, okay, you learn from it, and then you try something new, right? It's not dissimilar to studying law. The law works that way too, funnily enough. But you know, it's really quite heartbreaking what has happened to Twitter. Fixed. I don't know. My interactions have been. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. It's well. Let's see. I don't know. I don't have the chance to get written that I wanted to write. Why I should buy it. And why it's not just paying for a blue check. And some of his history that I've talked about. But I just don't really. Got to go and get uni assignments in and all that, get ready for my operation. Hopefully everything goes smoothly. I'll be sort of gagging, possibly literally, probably late next week, but we'll see how it goes. Too much up in the air at the moment. But anyway, I love you. REF's been choppy and sound and all that sort of stuff. But no, like I don't know what people want from me, because the evidence right there is that I have been screaming into the void, talking into the void, unable to earn much money. Thankfully, a kind patron, you know, who are, you know, at my end, but you know, like I have not been able to grow at all. You know, just like up in every sense. Like, you know, my streams aren't perfect, but no shitter than half of the ones that are in the top sort of 20%. You know, to say, I don't know. I am going to keep going with this. Everything tells me I should, but I'm going to keep pushing through and hope that the other platforms start their stuff. Maybe Susan Wojcicki at YouTube is resigned because she's likely to be liable for the fucking shit that's coming in. He's out with YouTube and stuff, like road base up. I feel like this is also shot with social, which Facebook are now on notice, LinkedIn now on notice. LinkedIn, Microsoft, but I think that this push for transparency, that is the upside of, you know, like this push with AI. There are people who learn what happened with social and what's happened with social. Don't want that to happen with AI, because that can actually be catastrophic. It might not be that way right now, but I don't like the bad fact that on GPT-5 is a reactionary thing. I think what it is it's actually a very clever wisdom and insight around, which was that we went way too fast, way too quickly before frameworks and guidelines and ethical fucking expectations, crime penalties, and all those things. I have a feeling that those people are trying to avoid the same mistake. It's not necessarily reactionary, especially if it's owned by Microsoft. I'd be very heavily skeptical about like what they're planning to do with this stuff. So White Rabbit, thank you for covering. It's refreshing and helpful for understanding to hear straight talking on this. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry about. I hope the tech. I hope it's not. I feel really bad. I'm just, I'm in a bind. It's just a bind. I can't, it costs me thousands of dollars. My computer's end of life. If I was still making money, then I must be doing the shit that I wouldn't be able to talk about this. And if I would talk about this, then I am limited and I can't afford a new computer and shit like that. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those fucking prophecies. And it was a faulty premise that I sort of operated on, unfortunately, which was, first of all, I could just grow an audience, which I can't. But now I can't. Outside of going on the street and handing out, and also that the cost of living double in the time between running the agency and all this going on. So it's just a few different forces going on at once. But I appreciate those that do show up and are with me and all those sorts of things. Yeah, and streaming machines in particular, like things that can handle streaming. I've got a Sony XLR. I do have some tech, but it comes to a point where it just can't handle certain things. It's okay. We'll get there. We'll work together. What I ask, if you are seeing this today or in the replay, please like and retweet anything that you see. If you can, even using socks or whatever the fuck, because I will now know. Okay. I think my decision to start writing on Twitter rather than sharing my post is a good idea for now. Until it may just be that you kind of get it like based on various. I imagine it's like thousands of different. I've said before. I need to go dig and see precisely. I will try to go through this stuff and put back. I love you. Thank you, Matt. I think that's it. I'm going to go write about fucking like jurisdictional shit and trials because for some reason I feel like being a lawyer is my outlet and future because I can't grow. But, I enjoy learning even if I don't become a lawyer, but no one will hire me, so I don't. So anyway, love you. No one will say what I say. I'm an idiot. I should shut the fuck up. I was talking to somebody. I just realized that my miscalculation was that I said it. I know people who have said they do it all under stock accounts and publicly they're all just whatever. I'm an idiot. However, with AI and currency, it is also the best thing that you can have is through giving your real name because you know that I am who I am and I won't lie to you. Now, because I'm on liquid for 2 months, if my face suddenly fucking sucks down to nothing, that's just my face because I probably dropped fucking 20 kilos from being on liquid. But, generally, I'm not lying to you. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to go. I love you. Thank you for your patience with my threats and stuff. I'm going to try and work on some branding and all those things. The other thing that I'm going to try and do is stream to Telegram and I prefer Telegram. I'm not a fan. then upload clips to YouTube and do it that way. But I wait to see. Unfortunately, people tend to prefer one form over the other. Could be WhatsApp even, but I'd like to start. And the reason I'm doing that is and the reason why I made the windows, it's easy for people to call in, so you can you can call in easily. So I'm just trying to figure out the best way to, but I'll get there. Okay. Being pretty impressive, actually. I was doing it yesterday. I'm scared of it. And I don't trust Microsoft. The second I went to install Bing, it made me install Edge, and I'm like, did you learn nothing from the fucking antitrust? Antitrust suit fucking what did happen? Remember when they made IE6 to use that's right, installing IE6 by default. That's a whole other thing. But there was no case about them bundling up IE6 with Windows, and Netscape were like competitive. All those other places were like, yeah. Anyway, I can't remember the details, but it's like they haven't learned a fucking thing. It's like that's not what we meant. Did you not? Did we stutter? This is the problem with these guys, though. This is the problem with that guys. Is like you make a rule and then they break it and they go, "Dear fuck stutter, this is the rules." Oh yeah, but it's slightly different. Yeah, that's fine. That's the law. Anyway, I love you. Take care. I'm sure I'll be fine. Oh yeah, and I also linked to a Telegram thing. If you want to do that to me while I'm sort of out of it, I'll be. But obviously, Twitter's not the best place to fucking recover from surgery. I'm sure that the people publicly wishing I would die would fucking be nice. Apparently, someone was having a go at me. I don't know if it was pokey pa's a fuckwit or what, but it's funny because I was like, was she okay? Don't see it, don't. It's like, people are such fuckers. Anyway, rise above it, just be better, and that's all I ever hope. Even with this twist stuff, let's just if I can articulate how I feel about a lot of this stuff, I'm more hurt because it's like I always feel like I'm kind of canary of mine because I've always been somewhat reasonable, friendly. I make friends, like making friends. I make friends. The fact that one of my greatest strengths is being able to connect people, introduce people, bring people together, persuade, change hearts and minds by sort of, bringing us together. And, and I have literally been told that makes me. You get what I'm saying? I think that's the thing. Person. And whereas people like fucking Ben Shapiro and Parker and people who start shit elevated, and it's just like you start to see the world like that, and it's like, I'm not saying I'm a fucking saint. I own some of the things. Swearing is a creative decision that I've made. Okay, it is a different thing from being punished for good qualities. Helping. Explain concepts, doing the right thing, telling people that maybe fucking going down a rabbit hole, trying to save people from themselves, and fuck all. Just be a shit posting like idiot. You think I would be good at it? Anyway, I love you. Take care, push through, and hope for the best. Okay, I'm gonna go.